Forget your malls and supermarkets. If you want to get ahead in selling, start small. Adamu Abubakar runs a kiosk in the heart of Lagos' busy Victoria Island business district. It's not your typical main street store, but it's small retailers like these that are battling it out for the consumer naira in one of the most attractive markets on the continent.
The time when I started my business, I was using tray. So when I sell for tray, for mirrors, so I make one table there. From one table, people that just cancel disturb me, now I come inside. So when I start to inside, I was using a table. From table, I make a case, I buy feed, I buy many things. Here, my business is moving, no wahala. My plan to grow, I need to go and open another place or find another person food to that place because my market is moving. Because I have many customers where they come to buy market for outside. Even people who are going with motor, they stop to buy something. Sometimes they carry motor come inside, buy market.
The Nigerian consumer market today is about $85 billion big. And naturally, given the demographics of Nigeria today, you've got about 150 million people. And about 70% of that population are under the age of 40 years, actually. And so if you put that in perspective, we expect sizable growth within the consumer space. So by 2015, for example, we expect total consumption to increase to about roughly $130 billion, in total in that period. Obviously driven by largely demographics and also macroeconomic growth.
The biggest attraction in Nigeria is the population. 150 million people. That's about 3 times the population of South Africa, Africa's largest economy, and just under half that of the US, the world's largest shopping nation. Steady GDP growth over the last decade has seen the emergence of a middle class that is the target for most companies. The numbers tell the story. Per capita GDP, for example, has grown from $300 in 1999 to $1,260 in 2010.
If we have the government pull through with its Vision 2020 plan, which is to take per capita GDP to about $4,000 per person in 2020, that would obviously imply a lot more upside with respect to consumption in Nigeria. Middle class represents around about 30% of the Nigerian population. About roughly 10 years ago, it was around about 25, 26%. So I'll say that we haven't made a significant progress. Rather, we've seen more expansion at the higher income class, the affluent, economic class.
Notwithstanding the large population numbers and attractive demographics, one reality that consumer companies have to deal with in Nigeria is the poverty level. The UN estimates that 70% of Nigeria's 150 million people live on less than $1 a day, and a credit squeeze in Nigeria's banking sector this year has added more pressure on consumer spending levels.
I think the Nigerian consumer in 2010 has been a challenged consumer. Challenge in the sense that you've had inflation. Challenge in the sense that you've had a situation where there's no credit available for him to avail himself from the banks. Challenge in the sense that increasing taxes and levies across the country. To that extent, disposable income has actually been unavailable. And in the face of that too, you had neighborhood effects in the sense that his neighbor or his brother or sister has been unemployed. And some of them who were employed have also lost their jobs. So you end up having a significantly challenged consumer in that context.
But poverty levels and a shortage of credit hasn't stopped companies like Promasidor, makers of a range of milk products, from growing aggressively. This Pan-African company arrived in Nigeria 17 years ago. Its cowbell brand, which retailers like Adamu sell, is arguably only second to Coke in terms of geographical reach.
Promasidor came in 1993, and their cowbell milk was really focused at providing people that couldn't afford the traditional large pack sizes with an alternative. And that's how Promasidor has grown, and indeed that part of the market itself has grown.
Many other brands have also adopted the small size pack strategy to maximize their market by getting products to the poorer consumers.
I think one has to become much more inventive and be looking at consumer relevant innovation, and some of that can come through packaging in ensuring that you have single serve doses, single serve packages, rather than people buying things that they will use over 3 months. They may buy things they will use at single occasion because they don't simply have the money. Some of them are earning daily wages. To that extent, they have to be buying things on daily basis. Some are there earning weekly wages. So to that extent, they can't afford to be buying into inventory, as it were. You will have to now be looking at what appeals to the bottom billions or the bottom millions as it relates to Nigeria.
However, Nigeria's well-documented shortage of power and roads means that many companies have to literally push their brands to the market.
It's very difficult. I think you see quite a few companies just stay within Lagos and allow maybe people to pick their products and take them and trade them. But if you want to keep control of your brands, if you want to manage your pricing, you've got to do that distribution or be involved in it yourselves. If you're going to develop really strong brands, you've got to have a unique selling point. You've got to have a competitive edge. The days of international companies bringing their brands and dumping them on the market or just throwing them in, expecting them to go, they're long gone. You've really got to be on top of your game, but the prize is worth it.
The more affluent consumers are also providing a target for retailers like Park and Shop, a company that recently welcomed the Spa brand to Nigeria.
Yeah, with reference to retail, I would say that over the last 20 years we have been in business, the consumer has evolved. Now the consumer has evolved because of the growth of the middle class. Upper scale retail, which is what we call the formal retail, is amazing. I mean, I said this once before, we haven't even began. We are talking about 45 to 50 million people, and how many retail organized companies or stores do exist in Nigeria. Now with this upcoming trend of shopping malls being opened, more brands will come into Nigeria. The good news is last couple of weeks ago, the government unbanned the importation of clothing. Now clothing, which is fashion, forms a great offerings to the consumer through shopping malls. And no shopping mall is ever complete or would be said that it is a great shopping mall without fashion. And fashion would mean having offerings from various products. Nigerian fashion is doing very well, but again, it's not being channeled through an organized distribution through branded stores where you have a lot of people coming in and footfalls are great. And I think it's a great opportunity today.
Looking ahead, consumer firms and retailers are bullish about the prospects for the consumer in 2011. A new minimum wage and further economic growth should buoy consumer spending, which means fledgling retailers like Adamu can look forward to a happy new year.